Then how exactly will Seoul serve its role of sustaining global security, especially with the alignment of Russia and North Korea seen in recent weeks? Our Oh Soo-young spoke with a former U.S. national security official, Victor Cha.
South Korea is emerging as a vital player in global security as President Yoon Suk Yeol takes, quote, courageous steps for peace and democracy amid Russia's invasion of Ukraine and Moscow's military collaboration with North Korea. That's according to Victor Cha, Senior Vice President for Asia at the Center of Strategic and International Studies. Speaking to Arirang ahead of the NATO summit this week, Cha spotlighted the role of South Korea in global security as the country was invited to the annual meeting for the third consecutive year. The focus of the three-day meeting in Washington, D.C. would inevitably be Ukraine. But more broadly, countries will address the strengthening alignment between authoritarian powers like Russia, North Korea, China and Iran, which blur the boundaries between Indo-Pacific and transatlantic security. NATO and its four Indo-Pacific partners, South Korea, Japan, Australia and New Zealand, plan to adopt a strong statement against Moscow's treaty with North Korea to aid each other militarily in the face of aggression.
So I think it's very clearly a direct threat in Europe because this collaboration is allowing Putin to use ammunition at very high rates on cities and civilians in Ukraine, as well as on the battlefield. This NATO summit, I think more than any other, will show how the two security theaters are connected. So just as allies in Asia like Japan and Korea have been helping to defend Ukraine, European partners will have to be critical supporters of peacetime deterrence in the Taiwan Strait, on the Korean Peninsula, in the South China Sea.
Cha said the IP4 countries and the G7 bloc could help bolster intelligence sharing and slap additional sanctions on Russia and North Korea, given the futility of such efforts in the UN Security Council, where Beijing and Moscow hold veto power. While there are no plans for a three-way meeting between the leaders of South Korea, the US and Japan during the NATO summit, Yoon's office said Friday that it is open to all possibilities. Cha emphasized the need for a trilateral collective defense declaration against the Russia-North Korea axis.
I would hope that they make some sort of collective defense declaration, that the security of one is tied to the security of all. This is something that the United States has wanted the three allies to do for quite some time. For domestic political reasons, it's been difficult. But what happened between Putin and Kim really is kind of a clarifying moment in terms of geopolitics and geostrategy, and the allies need to assemble in response to that.
Going forward, as South Korea's role grows in global security, Cha acknowledged the need for bipartisan support for Yoon's foreign policy to become a responsible global actor that stands up for freedom, democracy and human rights.
If Russia wins the war in Ukraine, and if China takes over Taiwan, neither of those things are good for South Korea. What we often like to say, and I don't know how true it is anymore, is that domestic politics stops at the water's edge, meaning that as much as political parties fight at home, once they're abroad, they're united. So obviously, it would be nice to see bipartisan support for South Korea's foreign policy.
He said Seoul is gaining recognition for its humanitarian assistance and wartime support for Ukraine and its plans to aid Kyiv in reconstructing the country.
So this really is Korea stepping out on a global stage. It's welcomed, I would say, by every country in the world to see Korea, the 12th largest economy in the world, playing this very important role. So I expect when Yoon goes to the NATO summit, I suspect he'll get a lot of respect from the European leaders for what he's been doing in Europe to help European security in defense of democracy. I think he'll get a lot of credit for that, and he deserves it. He's doing things that are pretty courageous. They're not popular domestically, but they appear to be things that he believes in, and that's what leaders do.
As a guest speaker at the NATO Public Forum, the South Korean leader is to express Seoul's commitment to leading efforts for peace and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific and Europe as a key member of the free world. He is also expected to issue a strong warning about the growing alignment of Russia and North Korea and seek security cooperation on a global scale. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.